Welcome to The Dream Journal. From the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, The Dream Journal is a weekly show where we explore the power of nighttime dreams through conversations with dream experts and with listeners like you.
In the house behind, the life you find is something understood. So there's no
A dream can be meaningful even if you don't know what it means.
We are not alone. Water over stone, even if you're by yourself.
And today's music is called Semblance, created fresh for you today by Rick Uppel. I am your host, Katherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork, and welcome to The Dream Journal. We'll be taking call-ins during the last 30 minutes of the show. You can also email us anytime at onair@ksqd.org. Okay, I want to start with just a dream that I had recently that I'm really enjoying. It was a dream of a woman was digging around a bush or in front of the house where I grew up. And like, what's she doing down there? And she comes up and she shows me that she has found birds and then attached to her hands, like standing on her hands, on all the different fingers are 4 or 5 different birds, all of very different colors. And I have no idea what this dream means, and it doesn't matter because it makes me smile. So I'm thinking of the hand with all the multicolored birds on my fingers. A great way to start the day. All right, let's meet our guest. Hello, Diane. Diane Hartman, welcome.
Thank you.
Battling depression and looking to find herself, a retired school librarian heads to Ireland and embarks on a solo journey of self-discovery. Nudged along by her dreams, our guest, award-winning author Diane Hartman, ultimately finds herself by following her deep longings down the back roads and byways of the soul. Her book is called Getting Lost on My Way, Self-Discovery on Ireland's Back Roads. And you can find her at DianeHartmanAuthor.com. Diane Hartman with one N, DianeHartmanAuthor.com. Diane, yes, so glad to get the chance to talk to you.
Thanks. Thank you. It's great to be here.
Yeah. So there's something that really runs through this whole book, which I want to start with talking about the really important topic of depression. And it is a common thing that many people have, and it's something that ran in your family. I wonder if you'd like to talk a little bit about depression in your life.
Yes. My father had depression very, very deeply. And this was back in the early 60s when the antidepressants we have today are not available. He ended up being so depressed that he took his own life. I was 10 years old at the time.
Gotcha.
And since then, we've learned a lot about depression, and it's something that is genetically inherited, can be.
Oh.
And that was, in my case, that was what happened. My depression was different from his because it's not debilitating at all. It's actually, the medical name for it is dysthymia, which is kind of a low-grade, constant depression. So I'm able to keep my responsibilities and do, what I need to do. But at the same time, there's this underlying unhappiness that's there. And so thankfully, I live in the age where we have these miracle drugs that can certainly help with that. And that's something I'll be on the rest of my life. But it's certainly allowed me to manage it and to deal with it, and understand it.
But it comes a time when taking a pill is not enough to fix a life that just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And so why don't you set the stage for us? Like, where were you before you felt yourself called to Ireland, and why did you make the change? Maybe take us down some of that road.
I was working as a school library media specialist, and in elementary school. Loved my job, but I also was recently divorced after being married for 22 years. And that was a very big shock. I had never lived on my own before. I married young and had never been on my own. And so there was just the right time. This has been several years ago, but it was just the right time for me to do something for myself that I wanted to do that didn't involve my two daughters, didn't have anything to do with being divorced or dealing with that. And I had always been intrigued with Ireland, especially the Celtic music and the literature, of course, from Ireland. And I don't know why. I can't really explain why I was so enthralled with it. I just was.
You don't have a heritage, and there's no obvious heritage.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know at the time, but it turns out I do have a heritage. And actually, it's, again, there's a lot of synchronicity in my book that happens. And again, it happened to come from the same area that I was drawn to exploring.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided, I kept applying for this teacher creativity grant that would have allowed me to travel to Ireland and pay for the flight, all of the travel costs. I kept losing, every year. And I finally got to the point where I didn't care if I won the award or not. I was ready to go. And even though I kept telling myself I can't afford it, I just thought I have to go. And I'm not going to wait for the exact right time, whenever that would be, or the right person to go with. I knew it was something that I needed to do on my own. Who else would be so enthralled with Ireland, and would want to go with me and do all the things that I wanted to do? I knew that I didn't want to go on a tour because I basically was interested, through all of my reading and so forth. I was interested in more of things that were not the tourist attractions.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I decided, well, you're going to have to drive if you're going to do that. And, I had this naive view of what that would be like. And so my first trip, I've made 4 trips total. My first trip was just a week long. It was one of those fly and drive vacations. And reality set in very quickly as soon as I got in that rental car. There's no instruction on how to drive. And of course, you're driving on the other side of the road.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
also driving a manual transmission.
Oh, no.
And realized that I would be shifting with my left hand instead of my right hand. So anyway, the first part of the book has to do with me learning how to drive on the other side of the road without killing myself or someone else. And lots of that is very humorous, but it's also, I didn't realize that at the time that I made my first trip over, and even up to my 4th trip, but it was a journey of self-discovery. I wasn't sure why I was there, what I was going to be encountering, what adventures I would have. I mentioned there were a lot of synchronicities going on, and mainly that was being introduced to people who, through others, who became friends and are still I'm still friends with, and several of them are in the book. So it was, I realized I took a journal with me each trip, and I made myself write every day, whether I felt like it or not. And most of the time I was so tired in the evenings, I didn't feel like it, but I did it. Mm-hmm. And basically those journals then became the source, for the primary source for writing the book.
Right. So Diane, this
on my way.
Getting lost. I want to really say that one of the things that intrigued me about your book is that dreams were pivotal along the way. Now, we started out talking about depression, and you specifically mentioned that you had dreams related to depression.
Yeah, I had a recurring dream about being chased by dogs. I can read part of that if you'd like. Black dog was at my heels again, and I was running as fast as I could across an open field in the dark, hoping I wouldn't trip. I could hear his terrifying growl getting closer. I pictured his sharp teeth and the slobbering white foam dripping from his panting mouth. Petrified, I ran faster, but my legs gave out and I tumbled to the ground. I woke up screaming as Black Dog pounced.
Mm. The black dog of depression.
Yes.
This is was a recurring theme of yours, of dream, right?
And
Yeah.
usually of being chased,
Mm-hmm.
wanting to turn around and confront
Mm-hmm.
the black dog, but that didn't happen in my dreams, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that, there was a fear there that I was, that depression was showing that it was part of my life that I really didn't want to deal with
Right.
at
Well,
the
and
time.
you couldn't get getting away from it.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
you were in the dreams. You were caught by the dog.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
and I'm just struck by the fact that it's the black dog because there's a kind of a metaphor for black dog, and I have dream people I work with who talk about the black dog of depression, how when a black dog's in the dream, oh no, here comes the depression's coming back, and there's something.
Mhm.
And I guess let's take a little detour and we'll come back to your other big dream that got you to Ireland, about depression. And there's something like that. You don't have a choice about it, and something about the mental illness of depression it's like a chemical thing, right? You don't really
Right,
have a
right.
choice. You can't just say, "Oh, cheer up already,"
No, it's a chemical imbalance.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Right, right. And so this is, using the chemistry to balance yourself back out again is something that you and others have found helpful and
Mhm.
therapy and ways of approaching it. But the black dog doesn't go away. Do you ever dream about the black dog anymore?
Not nearly as frequently. And it's
Mm-hmm.
usually, just a very short dream. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't feel the panic as much as I used to
Right.
when I would wake up.
Oh, interesting. Because I've often think that our habits of being and habits of emotion um, don't really necessarily they don't change so much as our relationship to those parts of
Hmm.
ourselves change.
Yeah, I'm waiting to have the dream where I actually do confront the black dog.
Right.
That's
Okay.
what I'm hoping
Wow.
for.
Oh well, you'll have to come back on the show and sort of
Yeah,
let me
I'll
know if
let
you
you know if
do.
that happens.
Uh-huh. That's cool. That's something to think about, really. Okay, so there's another big dream that I want to have you introduce here that kind of got you rolling on the whole idea of Ireland. Isn't that right?
Yeah, yeah. There are
Involving a
actually
famous Irish writer. Yes.
um, there are actually two incidents. One is where I met um, this person that I'm later going to dream about, that I met him in person, and that might help set the stage
Sure.
a little bit for the dream then that I have following that. Find it here. It's about meeting John O'Donoghue, the Irish author who wrote the book Anam Cara, which is Gaelic for soul friend.
Mm.
And he came to Indianapolis, the area where I live, and did a lecture and then a book signing afterwards. And of course, I'm all excited about this because he's just one of my all-time favorites. Suddenly, there he was, taking my book and asking my name without glancing up. When I told him, he quickly looked up and stared into my eyes. Startled by the intensity of his stare, I mumbled, "I love your work. I really want to travel to Ireland." "Diane," he said earnestly in his beautiful Western Irish lilt, "you must travel to Ireland, and then you must write about it. It's important, you understand?" His gaze seemed to hold me for an eternity, as he handed the book back to me. Before I could manage to respond, I heard the woman behind me gush, "I absolutely love your work," as she
Mhm.
handed him her book. Wow, how does he know I'm a writer? Weird. This totally freaks me out. Does he possess a sixth sense? Does he know that the emotional turmoil that's assaulted my spirit has caused me to lose my muse? That I'm struggling to write? How does he know about my unrequited desire to travel to Ireland? I felt like my soul had been pierced by a kindred spirit who understood. An Anam Cara. I stood there frozen for a few more seconds, long enough for him to look at me and smile, and for me to smile back. this is crazy. Why should someone like John O'Donohue single me out?
And how did he know you were a writer?
Yeah,
That is really interesting.
that was a weird experience.
Uh-huh.
It really was. It's one that, when you have experiences like that, which I don't have often at all, it kind of reminds you of, it seems natural at the time it's happening, and yet it's not natural.
Mm,
There is definitely something mystical about it, and again, try to explain it. I can't explain it. It's
mm,
just something that happened, and it did really leave an impression on me that
mm.
I needed to get moving and follow my dream to go to Ireland.
Okay. So that's the waking life experience. And then then there's a dream. It looks like you're going to
Yeah.
tell us the dream. How much later is the dream
Now,
that
the dream is years later.
Okay. But
And
you had not gone to Ireland in the meantime, or had you gone?
yes, I had gone to Ireland.
Okay.
It was
Yes.
it was my first 2 trips
Mhm.
out of the 4. And I was home. It was during the winter, and I was home. And again, I don't have these type of dreams very often, but I felt like he had died in the meantime. He died young, um, and unexpectedly.
Mm.
And so I had met people in Ireland who knew him personally, and were friends with him. And I don't know what it was, but it was just one winter night. I had this dream, and I wrote it down right away because I knew that it was extraordinary.
Mhm.
So anyway, this is the dream. Several years later, after I had taken his advice and made 4 solo trips to Ireland, experienced a lifetime of adventures, made friends, some of who knew John O'Donohue personally and shared their grief at his early passing, and come to feel that County Clare and the Barra Peninsula were my second homes, his ghost came to visit in a dream. I was walking the path along the cliffs of Moher in western County Clare, something I had done many times and never lost a wonder of. I glanced up the path and saw a middle-aged man with dark curly hair and a beard approaching me, his black coat blowing in the ever-present wind, and I knew that it was him. I stopped as he approached, and he said, "Diane, you have traveled here. You know that it's affected your heart and your mind, but you don't understand it. Now you must write about it." "But I have written about it," I said. "You know that." I didn't know how he knew, but I knew that he did. You mean those essays about climbing Crowpatrick, meeting the fake nun, sitting at Yeats's grave? Good initial efforts, but they're not complete. Not enough heart. "What do you mean, not enough heart?" I shouted. "I've sweated over those essays for years, pouring my heart and soul into them." "So you say, but are they finished? Have you submitted them for publication?" "No," I mumbled. "Right so. And why not?" "I'll tell you why." Oh, great, I thought, just what I need, another man with all the answers. I didn't hate men, but the emotional abuse by my ex-husband had devastated my trust in them. "By all means, illuminate me," I said. He ignored my sarcasm and went on. "It's the black dog," he said. "You know, depression. The old melancholy that runs in your family's veins. The hungry ghost that gnaws at your soul and leaves you feeling empty and useless. Your ability to hide it is admirable, but you must wrestle that black dog out of the shadows, stare it in the face, and wrestle it to the ground. Let it know who's really in charge. Let it know that you're using its secrets to stoke your inner fire and illuminate your life." "But how?" "Ah, 'tis the secret, is it not? But you already know it, and you already know it's about more than Ireland." "You will figure it out," he answered with that damn Irish glint in his eyes. "Right, Diane," he said. "Right." With that, he turned and walked back toward O'Brien's tower. "But wait," I cried. He turned around and looked at me with amused but affectionate impatience. "You mean I can fix the melancholy that holds me back through my writing?" "Indeed, that's what I did." "I know, but you died so young, so unexpectedly. You had just found your true love, your anam cara." He smiled sadly. and said as he walked away, "You'd best get started." In the years following that profound, unforgettable dream, I wrote about my experiences in Ireland. I took writing classes and went on writing retreats. I developed close friendships with like-minded writers. Finally, my muse returned. I welcomed her back, and every day I say thank you to John O'Donoghue's spirit.
Wow. So that's quite a dream.
Yes.
Very specific, a very specific dream
Yeah.
of, and you still have, yeah, you haven't completed the one thing he did specifically say in the dream is you to confront the dog.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're saying that you've confronted your depression and
Mm-hmm.
many parts of that, and like, but there is still a dog in there. There's still,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I
But
feel like I've conquered the dog in a sense just through my writing and through
Yeah.
writing this book.
Yeah. So the trips to Ireland were one thing, but then the writing were what really changed you. Is that what you're saying? So
Yeah. Yeah.
so tell me about that. Like how do you feel that you have been changed because of your writing?
Well, when I first thought about writing about my adventures in Ireland, I pictured it as a book of essays. And I had written, several essays based upon my experiences. Those essays eventually became chapters in my book. When I went to Haven Writers Retreats in Whitefish, Montana, with my editor, I ended up being told that the book was not a book of essays, that it's a memoir, and that I needed to go deeper. And Laura Munson, my editor, and she's also a very well-respected New York Times bestselling author, she really hit the nail on the head there. And she kept telling me to go deeper. And I said to her at one point, I've already dug a hole to China. I don't think I can go any deeper than this. But it was much more personal.
Mhm.
I was much more transparent about my journey than what I ever thought I would be. But I think that made it the best book it could possibly be. I worked on it for several years.
Mhm.
And I was very fortunate to encounter Laura Munson and have her in my life, as well as, many other writers. And that really helped me in so many ways, as far as my self-confidence and being willing to share my story in ways that would, for the purpose, I should say, of encouraging others to do something that they're afraid of doing, but do it anyway. And don't worry about the right time or the right place, the right person to go with. Just take the risk and feel the fear and do it anyway.
Wow. Inspiring words. Inspiring words. Diane Hartman, your book is getting lost on my way. Self-discovery on Ireland's backroads, and people can find you at dianehartmanauthor.com. And we're going to take a short break, but we have much more to talk about. For one thing, you are a photographer as well as an author, and so I'd like to hear a little bit about your photographs and how you. Another thing I want to talk about is balancing humor with emotional themes, because you can't have a book that's all melancholy.
No.
No one would want to read that.
No.
They shouldn't. And so how do we bring that out? And that can also work on the inner realm as balancing, bringing in some humor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The Dream Journal is broadcast live from the KSQD studios in Santa Cruz and co-broadcast live in San Jose by KCXU. Also up at KOWS in Sonoma. We are podcast everywhere on the Monday after the show. Full-length videos of the conversations can be found on Spotify and also on my YouTube page at Experiential Dreamwork. We will be right back. You are listening to the Dream Journal, and I am Katherine Bell of Experiential Dreamwork. And we have listeners all over the place. Today, we have all over California, Dublin, Oakland, Fresno, Antelope, Boardman. We have Iowa, Minnesota, Illinois, Georgia. Then we also have a couple Canadians, British Columbia and Ontario. We also have Florida, Virginia, Quebec, Canada, Rhode Island, and Moscow, Russia. So help us spread interest in dreaming, and please subscribe to the Dream Journal on your favorite podcast app. Thank you for your generous ratings and reviews, and thank you so much for sharing episodes on your social media. Follow the Dream Journal by looking for hashtag the Dream Journal and at Experiential Dreamwork. And please consider telling your friends about the show. You might just find your next dream sharing buddy. So we are here with Diane Hartman talking about her book, Getting Lost on My Way, Self-Discovery on Ireland's Back Roads, and the Black Dog of Depression, and some really amazing particular dream about John O'Donoghue. And now we're going to get into some other topics. For example, the photography, that Diane is also a photographer. So as you were traveling around looking for yourself on those back roads, Diane, you took a lot of pictures. And what do you want to say about that here?
I did take a lot of pictures, thousands of them over the 4 trips. I became interested in photography when I was a graduate student at Indiana University, and I took a photography class and worked in the darkroom and loved doing black and white photography. From there, I went on, and the black and white darkroom, unfortunately, went more in the background because digital came into to being. And I was still interested in doing that, and continued to take some classes and study with some important people. And part of my 4th trip was when I did finally win the fellowship for teacher creativity. And I got to study with a photographer in Ireland, a couple of photographers, actually, that are relayed in my book in Ireland. To me, photography is just a way of practicing contemplation. It really just takes me right in the moment, right now, and experiencing the moment. And yes, I have some technical background and all of that, but a lot of times I just feel like my spirit is moving me in different ways to take pictures in different aspects, and it's something that I just always feel very calm and peaceful doing. So
sounds like a kind of mindfulness, almost like being present.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It really is a sense of mindfulness, as opposed to the writing, which you do by yourself. And I tend to self-edit as I'm writing, which I know you're not supposed to do, but that's how I write. And it's very satisfying when you've written something that you can look back on and say, yeah, that's not too bad. Yes. But there's a lot of struggle with that I don't find with my photography at all. So I've kept that up. I'm not a professional photographer. I'm at what they would call, I guess, an advanced amateur. And okay. I've entered some contests and won, and I've sold some of my prints and so on. So it's something I would like to explore a little bit more now that I have this book written. Do you have
photography in the book as well?
That's a good question. I only have 4 black and white photos in the book. And that is strictly because of the cost of publishing reprinting color photos in the way that I would want them presented. However, on my website and also on my social media, Facebook and Instagram, I've uploaded a lot of my photography. So as you're reading the book, you can go in and look at my social media or my website and see some of the photographs that are based on what I was writing about.
And what about the cover of the book? Is that one of yours?
No, only because I couldn't drive and take a photo at the same
Oh,
time.
good point. Yes.
They had actually they sent several prototypes to me. And when I say they, I'm talking about my publisher, She Writes Press, which was wonderful to work with.
Mhm.
They sent several prototypes for the cover, and several of them included my photographs. But I felt like there was one, of my favorite photographs of the Cliffs of Moher that is really integral in the book. But I felt like it was a little too moody, and it didn't really express the humor that is in the book as well. And so we ended up choosing the stock photo that I think represents the theme of the book very well. The picture
The
of
road is a
the
road
road
and a building.
and and an ancient building,
Beautiful
in the
green.
background there. So I just felt like, that's because it is about, getting lost driving, which I did a lot. And
Literally.
really
Okay.
did. And also about getting lost on my way to find myself, and getting lost in wonderful ways, to find myself.
Well, there's something about the having to lose the parts of ourselves that we cling to that allows us to grow forward. But we don't want to lose those parts,
right.
because that's like who we are. But sometimes losing that can be helpful.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about I'm a aspiring author myself. I have a book. I'm looking for a publisher, and I want to talk to you later about some of your contacts.
Okay.
But I want to talk a little bit about the art of balancing humor and emotional themes. And because you don't want to have a full comedy book or a full sad book. Is that something that you like deliberately set out to balance those things, or was it kind of intuitive?
It came kind of intuitively, really. I knew that I wasn't just going to write, some dark book about my depression and me finding myself. I mean, who would want to read that? I wouldn't. So I figured no one else would either. And so many of my experiences were humorous. I mean, they're just outrageously funny looking back on them. I mean, driving, it wasn't at the time, but, driving the wrong way on a roundabout outside of Limerick. I mean, that was one of my first driving experiences. And just the people I met, I love the Irish people. They have such a sense of humor, along with a deepness to their souls that we don't have here in America. They value literature. It doesn't matter what kind of education they've had, they can recite poetry. And, I wanted to present the Irish people the way that I experienced them. And I wanted to present myself on my journey as I really was too, which was, a complete idiot at times. and you have to laugh at yourself. And I wanted it to be about depression to be a thread in the book. But I didn't want it to overshadow the book. And I felt like I could tell things, talk about depression and my experiences without being morbid about it. Even, my father's death when I was 10 years old, which was a terrible experience and marked me, for life. It all depends on how you want to use those experiences to help you grow. And I chose to, go do an inner journey, and dealing with that. It's helped me in so many ways. I've been able to help others. For example, my students that I taught for over 35 years as a school librarian, if one of them would lose a parent or someone very close to them, then I would talk to them about that and about how it was okay to have all of these different complex feelings about it, and use my own experience, to help. So, I figure you're given these things in life, and what you decide to make from them is up to you. And I chose to look at it with some humor as well, which is how I look at my life.
Mm. That's a valuable lesson, really, to bring the humor even
Mhm.
to the depression. Like, there's the black dog again. Well, there it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
There it is. So I like in the second half to kind of go deep and ask the questions that we really want to know the answers to.
Mm.
You have total choice. You can share what you'd like to share, but it's all published now. The book is published. It's out.
Mhm.
What would you say is the hardest, maybe the hardest scene that you were like, you told us that your editor wanted you to go deeper and deeper. Like, so there were certain things that you really didn't want to talk about.
Mhm.
And what was the hardest thing to talk about
I
in the
think probably my divorce,
uh
which I don't dwell
mhm.
on purpose,
Yeah.
uh, because it doesn't define my life now. Certainly, at the time it was very painful to go through, and I was still feeling a lot of that pain as even though it had been a few years, when I traveled to Ireland. But I didn't. That was something that my editor really got on me about and said, "You need to go
Yeah.
deeper with that."
Well,
And it's
it's
like,
a common human
this book is
experience.
not, I just kept saying, this book is not about divorce. I don't want to make it about divorce, but she convinced me to share what I felt I needed to share in order to give a background as to where I was coming from and
Right.
where I was wanting to go on this journey.
Hmm.
So that
Well,
was that was hard.
well, that's good, but I get it that I mean that is very personal, and yet it is a very common and relatable experience that
Yeah.
people have. Divorce, unfortunately,
Yeah.
is a it's what they say. May it be forever for as long as it
Well,
lasts.
I think especially with and I'm not excluding men from this, but with middle-aged women, the
Yeah.
way I was
Mhm.
going through divorce, especially if you had married young and
Mm.
never really lived out on your own
Right.
before. That's something too.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. That's a lot. So,
Mhm.
what about the idea of the Anam Cara? Like, this was an idea that you got from John O'Donohue,
Mhm.
and the idea of a soul friend. It isn't necessarily a lover. And in the dream world, I
Right.
think about it as sort of like the animus or the inner masculine, the inner self, or the
Right.
inner other. It's not always masculine. And
Mhm.
so I think about like making friends with myself. So there's a way that I can have that on Cara without having a partner. And
Mhm.
I'm just wondering how your ideas around the Anamkara have evolved and where you're at with that in your own life.
Oh, they've evolved a lot since the incidents in the book. It's I kind of saw soul friend as I saw it as a platonic relationship, but I also was hoping at that time that I would meet someone that I could have a meaningful relationship with.
Of course.
And the book kind of goes through that, and I talk about my infatuation with certain musicians and stuff throughout my life, and unattainable men, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And there is one musician in the book who I do know that I had a crush on, but
Hmm.
we have
It's not
since
you too, is it? They're the Irish band, right?
no, not
No,
you
not for
two, not
okay.
Bono. Not that I don't have a crush on Bono,
Who
but
doesn't?
I know.
But
No,
it's a
this was the singer Luca Bloom,
ah,
and uh, anyway, I came to realize that the best thing to do in that situation is to be friends. And we are friends. We still correspond. I'm very good friends with his sister Anne, who is also in the book, along with Luca. And so I think that helps define it because as you go through the book, you can see that transformation taking place in
mhm,
myself as far as my attitude toward Autumn Kara and what it means. The friends that I made over there that I was introduced to, by everyone from my cousin to other writers. It's was just phenomenon, and I'm still in touch with them. I mean, we're on WhatsApp, and we talk to each other, even though I haven't been back to Ireland for a long time.
uh,
Um,
so
so yeah,
two,
it took on a
two
whole.
questions comes up for me around that, which is one is uh, I lost one of them already. Okay, cousin. You said the word cousin. And so, because we started out, you said you didn't think of any heritage, think you had any heritage in
Mhm.
Ireland. But then you found that synchronistically you discovered some people that you were related to. Oh, that was the other question. Do you use pseudonyms for these people?
Yes. Yeah,
Uh,
I use pseudonyms for the people who are not in the public eye,
uh,
meaning the bed and breakfast people
yeah.
and, the people who no one would know. Now, the people who are in the public eye, like Luca Bloom, I used his real name.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was in talks with them before I put them in the book to let them know that this is what I was doing. I was surprised that both both Anne Reen and Luca Bloom, and as well as Jessie Lindeni, who is a publisher in Salmon Poetry Publishing in Ireland, were okay with not really even looking at it beforehand. I gave them the opportunity. In fact, I was begging them, please read it because they're
Right.
in it.
And they said, just
And
go ahead.
they're all good. And Luca was really nice about um, allowing me to quote some lyrics from his songs in the book too. And he, was just very nice about that and said it's all good. You can use whatever you want. So just their trust in me, meant a lot.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of that in the
Okay.
book as well.
And so, how did you find out about maybe just talk a little bit about how you found your relatives in
Well, I
Ireland?
didn't find I it was mainly through ancestry.com, and
Yeah.
that I'd been doing ancestry research on both sides of my family, and on my mother's side of the family, which my cousin is a part of that,
Mhm.
that I refer to. She's also a writer. Uh, I discovered after the fact, after I had written the book, and they're always changing the algorithms on Ancestry. So sometimes you'll come out as, 10% Scottish, and then it changes to like 10% Irish.
Huh.
There's a lot of Scots Irish in my background. But there's also showing origins coming from I'm probably not going to pronounce this right, but the Connacht area of Ireland, which is Galway, Clare, Mayo. Those are the areas that I do have ancestry from. I don't know the specifics yet because it goes way back, way
Mm,
before the potato famine
mm, mm.
in the 1840s. So I'm still working on that. But just seeing that my ancestry in Ireland is from that region that I was drawn to begin with. And there were times,
Interesting.
well, several times when I felt like I was on a certain famine road in County Mayo, and I just felt like I'd been there before.
Hmm.
Yeah. So um, I think there's a lot of ancestral memory involved in this that I don't quite understand. But I'm anxious to do more research on that.
Interesting. Interesting. So let me come back around to your dreams. Do you record your dreams on a regular basis? Do you
No, I
ever?
don't.
No, you don't. You
No.
just the ones that stand out. You
The ones that stand
write down.
out, I'll jot down some
Hmm.
notes about them. The only exception was the one I had about John O'Donohue. I thought you've got to write this down. I mean, it was like with me
Hmm. Hmm.
all that day, that next day, and so I wrote down everything I could remember about it. And
That's really striking. Very striking.
and I do have weird I have these dreams again kind of recurring but in different aspects of a dystopian type future, which
Hmm.
are totally weird and very detailed. And I don't know where those are coming from and
Uh,
what they're about. I've looked into Jungian interpretation of dreams and all of that, and I can't figure that one out. But
well,
but mostly, my dreams are the usual stuff, the anxiety type dreams, like, I forget my locker combination back at school, and or I've missed a whole semester of classes and just realized that yeah, I've missed a whole semester of classes and it's too late for me to do anything about it.
hmm.
That kind of thing. That,
Hmm.
just silly anxiety stuff, things that aren't really happening. Of course, I can't.
Right.
I don't think I ever forgot my locker combination. I
But there's
certainly
something.
didn't miss a semester worth of classes.
No. But those dreams, all of those dreams you're talking about, Diane, they really speak to me as a dream person myself. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, there's like so much richness there, so
Yeah,
much
there is.
richness.
There
I mean, I
is.
have many dystopian dreams myself, and I've kind of made friends with the idea that that is something to do with leaving behind a part of myself
Mhm.
that the wreckage, kind of the wreckage of that
That's
part
a
of
good
myself.
point.
And sometimes I'm still in this place where the buildings are all collapsed. I'm like, now what?
Hmm.
Right. But then looking at the details of the dreams, often I can see that there's an evolution. Like, so yeah, I'm still in the wreckage, but like, look, oh, there's trees over there. I can go over to the
Yeah.
forest and start to find my way to a new place.
Hmm.
So like watching
Hmm.
the trends of these dreams and the idea of missing a semester. Oh gosh. I mean, for me, that would be something about like, like a part of my life I didn't get to have. Like I wired it. Where is the true love
That's really
revelation?
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
is
I'll
this?
have to look into that some more.
Yeah. No, you're talking my language here. So Diane, what are your plans for the future? What's coming forward for you next?
Well, I've been so busy promoting this book that I haven't done the amount of writing that I want to be doing. And so I'm really looking forward to I've got a couple of ideas rattling around in my brain about what to write about next. And I really need to get on it,
Hmm.
and do it because I don't have forever, to
Right.
be
Well, yeah, don't want to miss
working on
that
this.
semester.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you want to write about next?
I'm not really sure. There are a couple possibilities. One is to explore this ancestral memory thing a little bit more.
Yeah.
I found some really interesting stories in my family history that I knew nothing about,
Uh,
and in my research. The other is I'm a member of both the Thoreau Society for Henry David Thoreau and also the Emily Dickinson International Society. In other words, I'm big fans of Henry David Thoreau and Emily Dickinson. I would love to write a book it would have to be fiction, that has both of them in it. I haven't quite figured out how I can do that and capture their voices authentically, the way I would want to capture them.
Interesting.
But,
Well,
they're both are
mhm.
possibilities. And
Well, just
I want to get into my photography even more
uh,
because I've let it kind of go on the wayside. I tend to take a lot of pictures when I'm on trips and things, but I want to start doing photography every day, doing at least one picture,
That
every
could be
day.
like a practice right there, a picture
Hmm.
day.
Yeah.
So just to plug a previous version of the Dream Journal, which you might want to check out, Diane, and maybe
Yeah.
the listeners would too, is I had Linda Schiller on the show a couple months ago, and I'll put a link in the episode page talking about her book about ancestry and dreaming.
Oh, I would love to hear that.
Yeah, so let's take that out. And so this is Diane Hartman. Her webpage is dianehartmanauthor.com, Hartman with one N. And would you have any like final encouragements for our listeners?
Oh gosh. I think something I mentioned earlier about, having dreams and not being afraid of fulfilling those dreams, no matter what you feel like the cost is, to feel the fear and do it anyway. Don't put off going after your dreams and something that you've been wanting to do forever. Just do it.
Love that. Just do it. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yep.
Thank you. Thanks, Diane.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, and thank you all for listening. The Dream Journal is produced at the studios of KSQD in Santa Cruz, and we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific at ksqd.org. I am Katherine Bell. You can contact me at experientialdreamwork.com or at Katherine@ksqd.org, Katherine with a K. Keep up with the shows on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and especially on YouTube by following at Experiential Dreamwork and hashtag The Dream Journal. I'd like to thank Rick Kleffel, engineer and music creator, audio editing by Suki Westling, phones by Eric Nelson. Intro and outro pieces are both by Mood Science. And tomorrow morning when you wake up, take a minute to write down your dream and bring it to the next Dream Journal.
And everyone in the world knows that so much is wrong, but much more is right. We see by shining